Hello boys and girls, my name is Maura Logue and I've come to talk to you about ancient family trees and bloodlines of Drumhome. I've been invited by Drumhome Heritage Society, working with Donegal County Council and Creative Ireland to bring you this talk. All I ask you to do is to settle in, to make yourselves comfortable and just listen. When we look at our family tree and when we trace back our ancestors, we call this genealogy. Our genes, our DNA are part of that word, genealogy. And every family can trace back those who came before them. And you can do this by looking at your parish records online, or indeed by talking to older persons in your community who might tell you what your genealogy is. We're going to look at the genealogy of royals and of saintly men who lived and worked in Drumhome Parish. Here's a question for you. What has Niall of the Nine Hostages and St. Columkill got in common? Well, they were part of one family tree. Niall of the Nine Hostages, a pagan chieftain, was an ancestor of St. Columkill, who brought the Christian faith to Drumhome Parish and further beyond to Iona Island off the coast of Scotland. We know of Niall of the Nine Hostages, don't we? We know that he kidnapped the young boy Patrick because Niall of the Nine Hostages was a chieftain slave trader. He brought the young boy back and he sold him to Melcoo, and poor Patrick spent 6 miserable years on Slieve Mish Mountain. Patrick had been brought up in the Christian faith, but Niall of the Nine Hostages was a pagan. We know that Patrick escaped after 6 years in Slieve Mish, but when he was away, growing up, becoming an adult, he would often have dreams, and he would hear in his dreams the voices of Irish children calling him to come back to them. So he became a priest and made up his mind that he would come back to Ireland and he would spread the Christian faith here. Quite ironic, really, because when he did come back to Ireland, he came to Donegal. Patrick knew that he had to convince the royals of Donegal, the chieftains who ruled this area. He had to get their blessing, because without it he certainly wouldn't have been able to do his work. So he met with Conall Gulban. And he talked with him, and he convinced him to be converted to the Christian faith. Conall Gulban of the O'Neill clan, son of Niall of the Nine Hostages, was one of the first Christian converts in Ireland. Conall Gulban also had a very special part in our Donegal histories. He, being the son of Niall of the Nine Hostages, was also given land by his father. He was given Donegal, and in Irish, Donegal is called Tír Conall. Conall's brother was called Owen, and Niall of the Nine Hostages gave him the lands of Tyrone, Tír Owen. Conall Gulban was a warrior chieftain, and he wished that the high kings of Ireland be settled here and reign here in Drumhome. And he fought a big battle near Benbulben, and that's how he got his name, Conall Gulban. It rhymes with Benbulben, doesn't it? Being called Conall Gulban meant that his name contained the history of that battle. Conall Gulban won his famous battle near Benbulben, and for over 100 years after that, the high kings of Ireland settled and reigned from Glasbally, now called McGonagall's Fort. If you look on Google, you can find out where Glasbally, or McGonagall's Fort, is. Now, you won't see a royal palace there. You'll see a green mound. But recently, archaeologists, people who can do detective work and find out about ancient histories from artefacts, visited Drumhome. And their findings show us that there are certainly interesting artefacts hidden beneath the ground. At Glasbally and at Drumhome Church and ancient graveyard itself. And that's where St. Ernan built his monastery, St. Columba, St. Columkill's monastery for his monks. Columkill wasn't always called Columkill, you know. He was christened Columba. But because he was a very pious and religious boy, he spent a lot of his time in church. And he was given the nickname Columkill, Dove of the Church. So from a very early age, Columkill was a spiritual man. His father was the great-grandson of Conall Golban. And his father, being a chieftain, was part of the royal household of the O'Neills. Columkill could have become a king if he wished, but he made a decision that he would be a spiritual leader instead, that he would establish monasteries in Donegal and beyond. And that is what he did. But here in Drumhome, we take pride in the fact that his ministry started here. His nephew, St. Ernan, is known as the patron saint of this parish. St. Eunan, also a relation of Columkill's, is the patron saint of the Diocese of Raphoe, and he was abbot of Iona, the 10th abbot after Columkill, his relation. Here we see the names following, the names containing information that tell us about these ancient men, these ancient histories and sacred sites in Drumhome. I ask you, boys and girls, to be detectives, to find out more about your local history. If the High Kings lived here, your ancestors may have been linked to the royal palace. You never know. Names like the O'Donnells, the O'Neills, Gallaghers, McGroartys, all come down from ancient times and are still in existence today. That is a proud fact. So when we study genealogy, we trace back family trees and family bloodlines, and we know from our findings, and we know from precious books that were held by these clans, that wrote down the lineage of the clans for all to see and know, where these books were kept protected. They were kept safe because they contained such rich histories of family names and family lineages. We're lucky today in our technological world. We can look at Google and find out what our Irish surnames were. My name is Logue. My surname is Logue, or Leog in Irish. And Leog comes from follower of St. Muelvogue. He was a saint in Wexford. The Irish surnames contained hints of what people may have done, what profession they had, what trade they had, what work they did. So if you Google your surname, you may find out what your family name meant over the centuries. Next time that we talk, I'll be telling you about sacred places that are here in Drumhome Parish. But for now, I ask you to be detectives, to look at genealogy, maybe parish records, look at the Drumhome Heritage Society website, and find out more about this royal and sacred and ancient place that we live in. Slán.